sont dits partout.
What's going on there, jerk faces? It's your boy Andy, and you're watching Nocturnal Transmissions, brought to you by the Circle of Jerks podcast. It's our weekly live stream where we talk about news, current events, kind of open it up as a forum for debates, and as well as our movie review. And tonight's movie is Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, starring again, to remind you of the theme for this month is Hollywood couples, and that stars Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton.
Seems like it's like a window inside of their relationship too.
I was. it's very it's almost spooky how much we're alike, because I was about to make that same joke. But yeah, so again, Hollywood couples, and of course, if you don't know, now you know. Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton did have a relationship, and somewhat of a rocky one. Stuff made of Hollywood legend.
Yeah. And this is not our first Richard Burton Elizabeth Taylor movie. We did Cleopatra a couple years ago now.
Yeah.
When we did our box office flops.
Right. That's right. Right. Elizabeth Taylor playing the titular Cleopatra, and Richard Burton playing Mark Antony.
Yeah. Oh God, that movie's fucking amazing. I know, like, it lost Fox a shit ton of money.
Mm-hmm.
But that movie is beautiful. It's a great epic, and Elizabeth Taylor has never looked better.
Oh yeah.
Whew.
Absolutely. But yeah, so all of that to look forward to tonight. So I guess, Rob, how was your President's Day?
Oh, well, it was kind of nice to finally, like, I getting a couple days off in a row is always really nice. Sunday I kind of, my wife and I, we've both been very busy, so like we haven't really had a whole bunch of chance to spend time together. So I ended up surprising her with a just a trip to the movies. I was utilizing AAA. I got some discount tickets, which is great. So I ended up spending half the money for the price of I got 2 tickets for the price of 1, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And I know my wife was really wanting to watch the new Ant-Man film, so we went and did that. And we both actually really enjoyed it. I mean, I had zero expectations going in, but no, it was, I think, a very good movie. It was a decent movie. It's kind of setting up the big bad for whatever, the next, like, Avengers film or whatever. And you kind of get that, and the guy who does play the the villain of the film, Kang the Conqueror, Jonathan Majors, he's really good. I like him as an actor. I think he plays the role very well. But yeah, really enjoyed that. And then we went out to a Japanese barbecue place afterwards, which was also fantastic. And we had like this giant stein of beer for like, it was like 4 beers for like, essentially like 4 beers in one for like $12. So I was like, that's a pretty good deal. I did not drink it all because it was too much, but it was still worth the price. And then Monday, hung out with Dan the Man, friend of the podcast, and I got a chance to watch some movies with him. We watched the new Black Panther film. That's kind of, now it's out and streaming with Disney Plus. Pretty much enjoyed that. It was kind of, they're in a no-win situation when the star of your movie dies just before filming starts, and they have to spend another year rewriting the screenplay to kind of like deal with that, because they didn't know he was going to die up until pretty much he died. Yes. As we did talk about.
Right, and
The
it's kind of in like Chadwick Boseman's situation was a lot like Raul Julia's situation, where like no one knew that that he was sick, and even like what is it? I think it was during the filming of Street Fighter, like he was like dying of cancer, stomach cancer.
yeah,
And he filmed that movie. Um,
probably the best part about that movie is Raul Julia.
mhm.
Yeah. um, but yeah, he's it's there's actually a really good film that he's in. It's actually one of my favorite of his. Speaking of Raul Julia, is it's him and Harrison Ford in, I think it's Frantic, I believe is the title of the film.
Mhm.
Essentially, like Harrison Ford is he's accused of murder, um, and Raul Julia is actually trying to help get him off, from the crime. And he's fantastic in that film, and it just shows what a talented actor that guy was, and we just never really got a chance to see
Right. I mean, well,
what.
particularly American audiences, because I mean, I bet if you were hard to, if you really pressed like your average like American viewer, even at that time, you'd be hard pressed to name any Raul Julia movies outside of like Addams Family and Street Fighter.
True. Yeah, it's kind of like what we talked about with like Toshiro Mifune. Like God, like if he had he been taking the roles of either Obi-Wan or Mr. Miyagi, I mean obviously like he's done way more than that, but that we would have been able to see more of like what he could do as with English voice acting, kind of being in American films. Though he did get a chance to be in a spaghetti western, which is brilliant, called Red Sun, with Charles Bronson and French actor Alain Delon, who is in a bunch of great films like Les Samurai, and yeah, that's. But yeah, it's kind of sad that like it's Chadwick Boseman. Yeah, he was just kind of
Yeah.
acting
Oh,
right
and
up until the
one
end.
last thing about Raul Julia. I read that he only did the Street Fighter movie because his kids were fans of the video game.
That's great. Like
Yeah, and he
he
wanted to
that
be
that's
yeah, because most of his work is like serious. Like he wanted to be in a movie where his kids would enjoy it. And I mean,
that's great. Like
yeah, it's I mean, yeah, sad it is that that was his last thing that he worked on. So
what a that's a honestly that's a real testament to like what a guy that guy he is. Like he's like, yeah, I want something that, yeah, maybe it's not going to be the best film, but my kids are going to watch it and they're going to enjoy it, and I'm sure they did. Um, Hell, I mean, like it's really not a bad film. Like I kind of wish that uh was it Bloodsport really should have been the Street Fighter film.
pretty much,
Yeah,
yeah.
that
Because I mean,
I
it's
mean
the whole premise of the video game is a tournament, and I mean, and Mortal Kombat kind of gets that part right in their movie, but
right.
um, I just don't think like there wasn't not enough like character development in Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, it was funny. Dan and I were talking about like Bloodsport when he came over. It's like, yeah, that really should have been like the street. Yeah, it is the Street Fighter film. It's like or at least it was the inspiration. Like, I'm trying to think of when that came out. Like, if Street Fighter.
In the 80s.
Yeah, it was like right around like the same time, and I'm
Yeah, at
wondering
least,
if
yeah.
like
At the very least, it was it was out at the time of Street Fighter One.
right, which
Yeah, but
is
I mean,
not.
yeah, you had all the characters. You had like sumo wrestler E Honda. You had like I mean, yeah, it's not 1-to-1, but it's like you had like the crazy bendy guy that was Dalsim.
Yeah,
You had the Thai kickboxer. I mean, he didn't look very Thai, but you had the
but
kickboxer, which is Sagat.
yeah.
Um,
You have like his sidekick or his friend who's like this, the giant like wrestler. Yeah,
right.
that's essentially
That's Zangief.
Zangief.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. He was American and not Russian, but yeah, that was Zangief.
yeah, and of course I think they were in the movie they were playing what's this really bad NES. Well, at least for the NES, it was terrible. I don't know about the arcade equivalent, but like I think it was like Karate Champ, which is a
Yeah.
game. At least the NES port was awful. Like I said, I don't know about the arcade version, which I would like to play just to test it out. Um, but yeah, and so we ended up watching Wakanda Forever. Ended up liking it. Thought they did a good job with what they had to deal with. Um, Rewatched the Predator just because why not? It's an awesome film.
Yeah.
And the new Blu-ray version I have, my God, it looks like the movie came out yesterday. It looks so good.
Oh wow, really?
Digital restoration that they did is amazing. It literally looks like it came out yesterday. It looks so good.
Wow.
You know,
Next time I'm over, we're gonna have to check that out.
Yeah, actually, like a lot of the movies I've gotten, like the digital restoration that they've done, it looks so freaking good. Like The Great Escape looks amazing too. It looks like a brand new film. Was it what else did we watch? We watched what the hell was the film? I showed him Lady Snowblood, just because he's a huge Tarantino fan. So I was like, oh, you gotta watch Lady Snowblood, the inspiration for Kill Bill, or at least one of them.
Yeah, or at least like the character of Oren Ishii.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of something else I found out too, for you Tarantino fans out there, that, and maybe I'm just dumb, I didn't catch this, but you have seen, obviously, I know you've seen Pulp Fiction. You've seen Reservoir Dogs as well, right? His first film.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you know that Mr. Blonde, whose name is Vic Vega, is the older brother of Vincent Vega from Pulp Fiction?
Oh yeah.
I did not know that.
That's right. Yeah, that's why like the whole theory of the Tarantino cinematic universe. Yeah, it's all like interconnected.
There has to be. That's I was just talking about that. It's like that is amazing. I would have never.
Yeah, because like the connected. Yeah, it's like because it went from Reservoir Dogs, guys in black suits, and then you have Pulp Fiction, two guys in black suits.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I forget what his next movie
is, but like the same organization then, maybe.
Yeah, or maybe even just like the same, like they used, like because they were brothers, like maybe Vince and Jules, they were they were on the same crew.
Oh yeah, that
and,
makes
and like and like the brother and like Vince was more like the the muscle. I mean, given Harvey Keitel's performance, like it's they're both equal. I think they're both equally violent, but Vince I think might be a little more like trigger happy, given the events of what happens in Pulp Fiction.
Oh, see, no, I disagree. I think Vega is the one that like enjoys being a psycho.
Well, I'm thinking more of like Vince Vega is more sadistic. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh God, why did I confuse? Yeah, it was Michael or who was it?
Michael Madsen's character.
Michael Madsen's character.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, he's the one that enjoys
Harvey Keitel. No, not Harvey Keitel's character, but but I think he's more sadistic, but Vince might be more trigger happy, because he was the one that had the gun on Marvin. He's the one that when the diner was being robbed, he was like as soon as he got out of the bathroom, guns on Honey Bunny.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I just meant like he's more like the trigger happy brother as opposed to Vince's character, who's more like he's sadistic.
Yeah, agreed. But yeah, I was I don't know why I never put those two together. I'm like, I've watched these movies for 30 years and I never put those two together. I'm always learning something new about his movies. That's
right. Yeah, I mean, Yeah, because everyone talks about the shared universe of Quentin Tarantino's movies, but it's like they never I think I don't know. It's just like I would think it'd be obvious. I mean, admittedly, I didn't initially think of it. When I first saw, I didn't even when they first came out. I didn't watch it because one, I wasn't old enough.
Yeah.
But even when I did watch it as a older younger man, I didn't put it together either until much later.
Oh, and one last film that I did watch, I'm not was Shock Corridor, and it's one of the Blu-rays that I bought not that long ago. That is turns out that is the inspiration for Shutter Island, one of our favorites. And whoa, I was blown away with this film.
Repeat the title of the
It's called Shock Corridor.
Shock Corridor.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's by director Samuel Fuller, who has actually done a lot more films that I've watched that I hadn't realized they were his. One of my favorite war films of his is The Big Red One with Lee Marvin and Mark Hamill, and it's Mark Hamill's best film by far. I mean, even better than his role as Luke Skywalker. He's amazing in The Big Red One. But no, this film is the one that inspired Scorsese to do Shutter Island, and you have this reporter who wants to win the Pulitzer Prize. And so there's this murder that happens in this insane asylum that is essentially like they have no leads. So he decides to infiltrate it as a crazy person and try to figure out who did it. And and while he's doing that, as he's starting to like unravel the case,
his mind slowly starts to unravel.
Yeah, he's battling insanity, and it's a brilliant film. Oh my gosh, it's so good. It's messed up, but it's really good. But yeah, that was my past week. I've been dealing with all sorts of um, car stuff and trying to get like immigration stuff and all sorts of other boring stuff nobody wants to hear me talk about. So like my release was to watch movies, hang out with my friends, and I found some time. I didn't get much sleep, but I enjoyed myself. I'll just say that.
Yeah, for me, my President's Day. Actually, wound up hanging out with some friends that I don't very often get to spend a lot of time with. But yeah, we went to go watch. We also went to go watch Ant-Man, the new Ant-Man movie on Monday. And I ended up paying pretty much regular price for what should have been a matinee ticket. Because me and my friends, we literally watched the first showing in the morning at like almost like at 9:15.
That should be like a $10 ticket. Like
that's what I'm saying. And like even when because I watched that at AMC and I was using the AMC app and it even said like 25% off or whatever. Then at checkout, I went and it ended up costing me about $22.
Shit, dude.
Yeah,
That's
and I'm just
too
like,
much.
yeah, and it's like, but then I realized it was like at a newer theater, and it's like, and it's the one where they serve you food and whatever, and so I was thinking, it's like, is that why? It's like, so maybe I did get 25% off or whatever, and 22 is the price after all of that. It was like, no, but I watched movies there, and and I watched it at not discount ticket prices, and it was about the same too. So
Oh, by the way,
I'm very confused.
So actually coming up here pretty soon, March 5th and March 8th. I know I don't know if it's like at any of the AMC theaters, but at Regal theaters, they will be having a special showing of Casablanca. I really want to go see it. I think there's one. I think it's like Sunday night. I think it's Sunday night and Wednesday night. So let me know if you're interested because I really want to go see that in theaters just to see like what it was like to watch Casablanca in the theaters.
Where's there a Regal theater?
Well, near me, there's at the it's like Sepulveda and Ventura.
Where? Okay, so where the
Where
Galleria?
the ArcLight used to be. They
Right.
bought out the ArcLight. That's a Regal theater now.
Okay. Yeah, and before that, it used to be a Pacific.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And like you, I wouldn't say I liked it, but I would say that I was entertained. And
You were entertained? That's the point. Like, were you entertained?
yeah, I was entertained. Can I see all of like the agenda stuff? Yeah, but you know, I think going forward, you kind of have to expect that stuff and like, okay, like, can I see past it? Yes, I can see past it.
I That's the thing that I where that wasn't the point of the movie. It wasn't like they were trying to give you a message. Sure, were those elements there? Certainly, but they also didn't. I don't feel like they sacrificed like a halfway decent story, to have those things. You know what I mean?
That's actually fair. That's how I felt because like you have you like the leader of like the quantum realmians or whatever, like she was like this butch woman or whatever. It's just like, okay, but like it didn't detract from like the overarching story.
No, it didn't.
No,
And
I mean, and then yeah, but then like yeah, there's like inconsistency in like the writing or characters, particularly one character that we thought died. I don't want to ruin, even though like I have no, um, I guess I have no fealty to Marvel, but I still, I'm not gonna spoil it for anybody in case they're like curious.
but there's
What
a returning character that you're going to be surprised. Like, oh shit,
right?
I
But
did.
then like yeah, like the way that this character, the way the way this character like turns their personality on a dime is just radically inconsistent and just like
That part was a little like really
yeah.
like okay,
And
but
like and also when the character starts devolving into basically comic relief, when he was supposed to be like this when this character was supposed to be super menacing and was like, oh, like everyone feared this character. But then as soon as like
that's
we're
kind of
as soon as us the audience are introduced to him, it's just like the character just starts becoming a goof.
that's where like I think that's kind of the one of the problems I've been having recently with Marvel more than not is yeah, I mean obviously there's the agenda stuff, but the misuse of humor
Mm-hmm.
where it's like now this film did was way better than Thor Love and Thunder where oh god, we're having a serious moment, better throw a joke in. That's which is the thing that pissed me off so much about the last Thor film. This I felt like was it straddled that line very well. Like, yeah, were there times where like, yeah, okay, this is a moment like where we can have a little bit of like comic relief. That's okay. It's like okay, we have a little bit of a time to breathe. But I don't feel like there was a lot of times where okay, there's some stakes here. It's like so you feel
Yeah.
like
But although at the end, you know, I don't know about you, but do you feel that particular device was their only way back up to like their world? And were you let down at the how they were able to activate the portal on their end?
um I think I would have liked a little bit more of like how did she figure that out a little bit, like where
Well, no,
it's
exactly. I'm saying like because like the device, the MacGuffin or whatever, you know, it's made to. You're led to believe that that was the only way for them to open that portal home, right?
yeah.
But then the way that Ant-Man sacrifices himself, it felt like it should have been a bigger deal, but
I think honestly, I think it would have made it a little bit more like, oh shit, like he uh Hope and him like kind of like sacrifice themselves to keep this you know this
to keep
villain.
Kang, where he is.
Yeah, and I think like and then leaving them down there. We know that they're gonna get out at some point. Like they can, possibly like making a comeback in the Avengers film. I mean, they're smart; they'll figure it out. But like the fact that the movie ends on such a happy note, I'm not sure. I think I would have liked to have. Maybe this is just me. Maybe I do like a lot of dark stuff. Where it's like, well, let them stay down there. That it seems like that would have like made more sense. It would have made the sacrifice feel more significant.
Yeah, or do
Which
like however many months later, and Hank and Janet and Cassie, they're working on the problem and then they figure it out.
Yeah, like they rebuild, like his daughter rebuilds like that, like now that Kang is defeated, she rebuilds that the sonar to the quantum realm, and they're able to figure out a way to.
Right, and then also like Hank rebuilds it like that pod thing.
Yeah,
And then coupled with that, they're able to go down and go retrieve Hank and Hope. I mean Scott and Hope.
yeah. Michael Douglas is looking more and more like Kirk Douglas. It's
Yeah,
like,
well, I mean that is his daddy.
yeah, I know, but like it's like he's even getting that like he's because before like Michael Douglas had a little bit more of a smoother voice, but now he's starting to get that gravel that like Kirk Douglas had. It's great. It's like, oh man, every time I see him, it's like, man, Kirk Douglas.
Yeah, that's crazy. Kirk Douglas got up into it like he was 100, right? 100 something.
106. He was 100.
106. God.
Actually, uh, I do highly recommend. There's a documentary. I forget what it's called, but it's essentially like it's about the story of Kirk and Michael kind of talking about their careers and like some of the mistakes that they've made and like they actually there's some things that like Michael did as far as what was the film that um, oh shit there was a film that Michael Douglas ended up producing that Kirk Douglas could never get off the ground, and then when it came time, it's like, sorry, Dad, you're not going to be the star of this film. You're not right for it. It's like you're too old. And I'm forgetting what the hell that film was. And it like there was kind of like he's like, "Do you forgive me, Dad? I'm sorry. Like it just, but at least I got. Oh, it was one flew over the cuckoo's nest. So
Oh,
he was
whoa!
supposed
Michael Douglas produced that.
yeah, because Kirk Douglas like he loved the story so much he bought the
Bought the
story,
rights. Yeah, he bought the rights to the
and he
movie.
actually he was he did the play he did all the plays and stuff like that. He was Jack Nicholson's character in the plays,
Right.
and he wanted to turn it into a movie, and never could get like any studio backing. They went no, we're not gonna do it, and it's like and so it kind of sat on the shelf for a while. And when Michael kind of got into his career, he started his own production company. He's like, Dad, why don't you let me get a crack at that and let me see if I can get it made. He's like, all right, and he did. And but by the time that it was done, it was in the 70s. Kirk Douglas was 60, so and he's like, he was. I think Kirk thought like he was going to be the star of the movie. He's like, Dad, you're too old. I'm sorry, no, you can't be in the movie.
Yeah, it's like Adam Sandler, like in Happy Gilmore. It's like, but she's old. You're old.
Yeah, But yeah, no, it's actually a very touching documentary. You kind of learn a lot about like the Douglas family, and it's just I felt it was actually very touching and very informative. Two of my favorite actors. I do like Michael Douglas as well, although I like his films less than I like Kirk Douglas films. I
Right.
think Kirk Douglas is
Yeah,
a
and I mean, like, really, can you? How many Michael Douglas movies can you really? I mean, you probably can't, but for the average person, they
well,
probably
two
can't.
that come off the top of my head are Fatal Attraction and the China Syndrome.
Mm. Yeah, I think Fatal Attraction, Instinct, and The Game.
Oh, I forget about the game. Yeah, the game is good. Instinct I've never
Or
seen, but
Basic Instinct. Basic Instinct.
Basic Instinct. I have never seen Basic Instinct.
Yeah, the most one of the most rewound scenes in
Oh, those
cinematic history.
VHS tapes were all fucked up at that scene. I know it.
Oh,
Everyone wanted to see Sharon Stone.
I
God damn.
know. Yeah,
That was
dude.
like,
My first car I named after Sharon Stone.
oh shit, nice.
Yeah, I mean I don't. Yeah, you remember my old car, the white Solara?
Oh, dude, yeah, oh yeah, dude, yeah, that's totally makes sense.
Yeah, because I don't know why I was at I was hanging out with friends or whatever, and I parked my car. It was like right under like a street lamp, and it was just lit up, kind of like, and it's for some reason how it was lit up, it reminded me of Basic Instinct. I was just like Sharon Stone. That's my car's name, Sharon Stone.
There you go. I don't never figured that. I would have. Yeah, that makes total sense that you named that car that. It does look like her character in
Right?
the
Yeah,
in that.
in that iconic white dress.
But yeah, I like outside of that scene, I don't know anything about that movie. I've never seen it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, the game is amazing. That's a good film.
Yeah.
I think he's also in Black Rain, which is not a bad film either.
Mm. Yeah, but yeah, it's kind of sad because I think he does. Michael Keaton does get outshined by his father, and so I a lot.
Yeah.
I don't. That's why I think a lot of people. I mean, the average viewer can't really name a lot of movies that he's in, even though he's a great actor, in his own right.
He really is, and I think, but like I said, when you live in the shadow of like an all-time great like Kirk Douglas,
Mm-hmm.
who I mean, God, how many films have I
Yeah,
some of
especially
my
like
favorite films?
yeah,
He's the
especially
whole
iconic movies.
Spartacus
Yeah, like Spartacus.
champion. Yeah, it's just the list goes on and on and on of like all the films I love of his.
Hey, did you know that Michael Keaton's actual surname is Douglas? And he only changed it because Michael Douglas.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah.
So his name is Michael Douglas Keaton.
Or no, like no. His actual surname is Douglas. Michael Keaton. Yeah, Michael Keaton. Actual surname is Douglas. So when he went to go and register with SAG or whatever, he couldn't because of Michael Douglas.
Oh wow! So essentially, he's been using his middle name as his last name.
Yeah, I don't even know if Keaton is his middle name. Hold on, let me look that up real fast.
Whoa! Speaking of Michael Keaton, did you see the new Flash trailer? Are you interested?
You know what? I kind of am. I am. Oh yeah, yeah. It's not even Keaton. His middle name is John.
Does he have like 7 names, like Kiefer Sutherland?
Not according to Wikipedia.
Dude, you should look at like Kiefer Sutherland's like real name. Like it's so long. It's like Jesus Christ. Why does he have so many?
It's longer than Tom Cruise's.
Way longer, dude. It's he has like 8 names. It's crazy.
Yeah, Michael John Douglas is Michael Keaton's actual name.
Whoa! So he just created like some random name for his last name.
Yeah, random surname.
hey, you know what? It worked out for him because he's also a great actor. Like,
Mm-hmm.
he's really coming to his own too. Like, especially in his older age. Like, with the roles like in The Founder, Birdman. Hell, he was great as the Vulture and the Spider-Man
Yeah.
Far From Home or
Mm-hmm.
Homecoming. Yeah,
Yeah.
Spider-Man Homecoming.
Oh, wow.
You
He's the
know,
youngest of 7 children.
wow.
What? Keaton's first appeared on TV in the Pittsburgh Public Television program Where the Heart Is and Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, 1975.
Wow. I actually like so. Keaton. The thing about Keaton, like, he did a lot of more like comedic roles too. Like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mr. Mom and
actually, a film that we're going to be talking about very soon, Night Shift, with him and Henry.
Henry what?
Film is fucking brilliant. He is so funny in that movie.
Mm. Yeah.
And
I'm
and
trying to
Henry
find
Winkler
I'm
is
trying
this.
to find trying to find where the Keaton came from.
God, that's weird. Like, where do you like? It's just. I wonder if like it's like the was it like in The Usual Suspects, like where it's like he just like he comes up with his name like it's some like it's like on a coffee cup and like a on the billboard or something like that. It's like here's my name.
Yeah.
My name P. Tier
Tier.
Griffin.
Wait, hold on. Oh, here it is. Okay. Uh, he decided to use a stage name to satisfy SAG rules, as there was already an actor, Michael Douglas, of course, and daytime host Mike Douglas, whoever that is, with the same similar names. In response to questions as to whether he selected his surname due to attraction to actress Diane Keaton or an homage of silent actor Buster Keaton, he responded by saying it had nothing to do with that.
Really? Oh
Keaton,
wow! That
yeah, okay.
damn.
Keaton has said in several interviews that he searched a phone book under K, saw Keaton, decided to stop looking. Okay.
Oh man, like see that would have made, especially with him being a comedic actor, like him going with the Buster Keaton. Yeah, it's like, oh well, I like Buster Keaton, so I'll go. I'll be Michael Keaton.
Right?
It's
Yeah.
like, but no, he just looked in a fucking phone book. Oh my, that's
Yeah,
even funnier.
and went no further than the KEs. He like that means he bypassed like all of like the KA names. It's like Keaton. All right, going with that.
Wow.
But yeah, but again to go into a little bit more. Yes, I am hyped since he is returning as Batman. Um, but I really wish they would do a Batman Beyond movie, and I really want Michael Keaton to play the role, especially since he's the right age now.
Right. He should be. Yeah,
He
and
should be old man Bruce Wayne.
who would play Terry McGinnis though? Who would play
Okay,
Terry?
you know what? If he wasn't already uh, cast in a Batman movie, I would say Robert Pattinson.
Oh, what would you say to Miles Teller being Terry McGinnis?
Terry McGinnis. Ooh. Maybe, but he wouldn't be my first choice.
Because you kind of need like a smart ass, kind of playing that role.
True.
Like you kind of need like he can be serious, but he's kind of a smart ass at the same time. Like
Right. I
not.
mean, by that token, then you could say an Andrew Garfield.
Oh. That could be interesting. But Andrew Garfield, he's almost a little too old.
Yeah, I mean, if they, yeah, because right now, Michael Keaton would be the perfect age to play old man Bruce Wayne. Um, and I think like I think he could do kind of he could give off that same vibe of Kevin Conroy, like the kind of like the old man sardonic kind of humor.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, I'm trying to think of who they would put as Terry McGinnis because I mean, when it came to the voice acting, Will Friedle was so amazing in that role.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I would love a. I don't know why it hasn't happened. Why has there not been a Batman Beyond movie?
I know, because it'd be a perfect way to
You change up the formula a little bit
you
because
change up the formula a little bit, and it'd be a good way to have a Batman movie, but then not have you know all of the old like baggage of like doing or like you know it would open up to doing an origin
you can do
story.
like a futuristic cyberpunk movie with
Mm-hmm.
Batman. That's
Yeah.
what Batman Beyond is. Hell, you could probably even have Christian Bale play Batman, the old Batman. Like he can do like the makeup and go all
Well, yeah,
crazy.
because what is it? What was that movie where he played Dick Cheney?
Yeah, he looks fucking great.
Yeah, he looked great. Yeah, so he could. Yeah, he just put some old makeup on him. Yeah,
he would.
and especially like the kind of the character that he played in Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah,
Yeah, just slap some old makeup on him, and that's old man Bruce Wayne.
he also and he's also talked about how he regretted not staying as Batman. He wanted to play it more, and he regretted that he didn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
And he once Ben Affleck was cast, he's like, ah, fuck, I should have stayed as Batman.
Yeah. um, yeah, we'll probably have to think. Well, we'll probably have to think on this a little bit more. Uh, at least
I'm
for
gonna
the
think.
for the casting of Terry McGinnis.
Yeah,
But
I
yeah,
have
but
to.
like I think but maybe to wrap things up a little bit, I think Batman Beyond is the right way of doing the whole passing the mantle thing.
Well, we know James Gunn listens to this podcast, so
I know, right?
James,
James Gunn, if
like
you're listening to us, get on it.
Jim Booby.
We're your white knights.
Thank you, Andy, for knowing what the
Yeah,
hell I was.
finishing the joke, finishing the joke. But yeah, in my opinion, Batman Beyond is the proper way to do, passing the mantle. Even though like I don't agree with the whole premise of other comic book characters becoming other comic book characters.
Yeah, see that's the thing. Is like I think you need to have a new guy play Terry McGinnis, but like you utilize one of your former Batmans, live action Batmans, like either like you said, Michael Keaton would be great. I think Christian Bale could pull it off too because he's so method. He can do whatever he can do it.
Right. Yeah, and I mean and I think you could kind of you might be able to get away with it even with Ben Affleck.
Sure, why not?
Yeah, just old makeup him up. But yeah, in my humblest opinion, Batman Beyond is how you do like a passing of the mantle. Even though I don't believe in that sort of thing because we as the audience we know that Batman is Bruce Wayne, Superman is Clark Kent, Peter Parker is or Spider-Man is Peter Parker, and to say that you could just it's a mantle. It's like no, that's not how it works. It's like because as we the audience we know who these characters are.
And see that also what the other thing to do is it also takes them away from having to utilize the Joker as the bad guy. Like it's like
Yeah, Joker ad nauseum, like
yeah, we can get other characters. I mean, you can have the Joker gang, sure, but like you can utilize the Batman Beyond like
right the mythos of Batman, translating it. Yeah, like how they did, like how they used the Joker aesthetic to become a street gang.
Yeah,
That's awesome. That's really that'd be or a gang that's that took their aesthetic from like Two-Face.
Exactly. You can still have like you can do something different while utilizing the same property.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they do it. That's how you make it new.
Yeah.
I come on, Jim,
Yeah,
Booby,
Jim.
come on.
All right. Okay, let's get into the topics of the day. Do you have a preference?
No, let's start wherever you want to do. We'll start wherever you want to start this
All
week,
right.
Andy.
We'll talk about the train derailment stuff first. Because I don't see it going very long, but what do I know? We always say like, oh, it's not gonna go very long. We end up talking about it for an hour.
Yeah. So,
But yeah, I mean, if you guys been living under a rock or whatever, you know that there's been a bunch of train derailments. Famous one being the one in East Pennsylvania, like Ohio, Palestine.
I thought people love trains. Why is he not helping?
I know. Where's Biden? Yeah, always talked about riding the Amtrak and whatever. No, he has to go give a hug to Vladimir Zelensky.
God.
But yeah, there's the train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio or Pennsylvania. I forget. I think it's Pennsylvania.
I think it's Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I think it's right near the border of Pennsylvania, Ohio. And they had the chemical spill of vinyl chloride, which is cancerous and whatever. And people were, it was like 2 or 2.5 weeks before mainstream media even began to cover it, and then people started getting pitching a fit, saying like, oh, why aren't you covering this? And and they people were freaking out because they're burning off the chemical, and there's like that huge like black column of smoke, and what is it, like, because of like the burning of the chemical, like there was a literal hole in the clouds, and people are freaking out.
Jeez.
And then more and more there's like more stories of train derailments, and again, like, people like losing their mind, and all it is like fear, 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 and then we see like TikTok videos of dead fish, or like what is it, the new congressman, JD Vance, like he goes and like runs a stick through a stream, and like there's like this oily thing that like that comes up once you disturb the creek bed.
Jesus Christ.
And and it all seems like it's a lot of people at first thought that it was a deliberate attack, and then some people thought it was there's all these theories about what was going on, and slowly but surely, like, as these stories were coming about, and like constantly these videos of the area were coming out, I just kind of like, I had to take a step back and get a broader picture of everything. And it's just a lot of this scene reminds me a lot of the COVID hysteria when it first happened. Because first, we're getting like these small instances, and it's like, oh, like, it's like, well, some people are getting sick, but it shouldn't be anything to worry about. And then all of a sudden, boom, 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 all these like stories of people getting it and dying.
Yeah.
And so,
because my concern is like, why are there so many like train derailments? Like, it seems like it happened like all within like a span of like a few weeks, where it was like like, which normally those are pretty rare, I would assume.
Well, I mean, they're actually more common than you think.
Really? Oh,
yeah.
Jesus. Is it like bad, like rail management, or is it just like?
Well, it's a bunch of different things. One of it is what is it? Kind of corporate greed. The lack standards or whatever, and so less qualified people, and or not enough people to cover each train.
Where's Denzel when you need him?
I know, right? Um, but yeah, there's a bunch of different factors, but yeah, like one being corporate greed, because like there were a bunch of pay cuts that happened, and also a lot of layoffs. So there weren't enough personnel.
There was so
But I also want to point back to something that people were freaking out about, you know, like 10, 12 years ago, and that was infrastructure collapse. And it's just like, and I think now we're seeing like
the
the
effects
the
of that.
fruit the fruits of that, because you what is it, like during like the Obama time, they were talking about how infrastructure is bad, and how, oh, look at this overpass, there's a hole right, I could see like through the bridge or whatever, and I could see the highway down below it. It's like, oh my God, America's crumbling.
We here locally we have a whole like off ramp that we haven't been able to use for over a year.
Yeah, or like, yeah, getting to that, yeah, getting to a year. um and then, yeah, I remember seeing a video on social media of this train track, and it's all sorts of messed up. Like, like there's some like soil erosion, and
It's
so
warped.
like the tracks are like, are askew and whatever, and just like, yeah, we're not taking care of our infrastructure. Even though supposedly Biden passed that infrastructure bill, it's just like, it's not towards infrastructure.
No, it went to politicians' pockets. That's what that whole bill did.
Exactly.
You look at like some of the some of the big like points on that. It's like it all that whatever $1 trillion thing that he passed. It's like 2% of that is going to infrastructure. That's nothing. That's not helping anybody.
Right. I mean, yeah, and like the redefinition of things, because they're like, they're trying to supposedly get more money to frontline health workers or whatever during the pandemic, and they're like trying to rejigger the word infrastructure to even include people. It's like, oh, they're infrastructure,
That's
and
not
it's like,
infrastructure.
no,
And they
exactly, but
and
they're trying they're trying their damnedest to try and you know rejigger these words to mean things that they don't mean. And
yeah,
so,
and
yeah, and kind of taking the lessons that we learned through COVID and stuff. It's like, you know, is this something that's is this an anomalous thing that's happening more often, or is it just the attention that the media is giving it now? Kind of like with COVID-19, where it's like, oh yeah, there's this new thing, it you know it uh, but it's probably nothing. And then, you know 3 years later, we come to find out that, yeah, it kind of really was nothing. But the constant attention from the media is what kind of overblew it.
yeah, well, and see, here's the other thing too. Like the because if this is a serious problem, which it seems like it is, it's more or less like it's what we talked about with all the problems we've been having with like kind of like the shipping and everything. It's like where we're not even making our own fucking fertilizer, right? So we spent all this, like, our electrical grid is terrible. It hasn't been updated in 50 years, pretty much. It's out of date. I imagine that the railway system is just as bad. Um, where it hasn't been updated. Like a lot of these, railways that we use to transport goods within the country, I imagine a lot of those railways are just complete garbage. They've been like updated or maintained, and I don't know what exactly the stakes were in that railway strike that was. Well, don't do it until after the election. After the midterms. Okay. It's like, which I would have told you know Biden's team to go kiss my ass. It's like, I don't really give a damn about your stupid election.
I'm your worst nightmare.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Um, but like I said,
Yeah.
I don't really know what the. I mean, I'm sure it was like, like the pay was probably a part of that, but like maybe it's a safety issue too that we don't really know of what the details were of like what their issues were. But now we're starting to see like, yeah, the safety issues are really bad, and this is what fucking happens, especially if you're transporting dangerous goods like vinyl chloride and all this other, all these chemicals and dangerous goods. Like, you can't be like, you can't have fucked up railways transporting by rail and like not expect something like this to happen where, it's not the politicians that are suffering, it's everyday people that are like stuck in those areas that they get fucked over.
Right. But my whole point is that I'm thinking that they're like the media is over exaggerating it because
Well,
it's,
that's
it's
true.
it's just the next big thing. Because it's just like with anything, like with climate change or there's like that video of that one dead fish. They only show you one dead fish in that creek, and I don't
That
even
one
know if it's
turtle
that
that showed
creek
up in
from that
time.
area, right? And it's just like that fucking turtle, that sea turtle, that one sea turtle with the straw in its nose. And then thank you for that, because now California, it's illegal to have plastic straws. Fuck you, sea turtles. I hope you die. It's one thing. If it'd be one thing if they showed me the river and it was filled, like the entire surface was covered in dead fish. Then I'd be like, okay, cool. But it was if you go
Maybe, yeah,
back if
okay,
you go back and look at that video, it's one fish in the river under the water. Okay,
exactly.
and so let's not forget the lessons that we learned during the health event of unspecified origin. Um, because and also don't think that you know uh, that you're getting the truth from TikTok or Instagram or whatever,
No,
because
you.
because
No,
you do you not think that the mainstream media has figured out the game and be like, oh, okay, so people are now looking to us, so we'll just hijack the algorithm, um, we'll just
yeah.
hijack social media, and we'll put out footage and things like that to freak people out. I mean, and like the whole thing with the congressman JD Vance running that stick, and all of a sudden like this like oily thing starts coming out of the creek. I mean, from what I looked into, that's kind of natural. What happens after after a thaw in winter, because there some animals or whatever that are trapped in the river or like decomposing matter, and then it just kind of bubbles up to the surface.
Yep.
And so like everyone freaking out, like, oh, the water's contaminated, like da, da, da. It's like, yeah, that's like one river, and like like the oily stuff that comes up, that's like decaying animal and plant matter that happens after like every thaw. And if you didn't run your stick through it, you wouldn't even know it was there.
Yeah, it's. I think you have a bunch of people who are like, this is where the ugly side of like politics, where it's like, okay, well, oh, they fucked up here, so we're gonna utilize something that we know is something that normally happens due to this, and we're just like, oh, it's because of this, and then you have a lot of people who don't pay attention, so like, oh, okay, they wouldn't lie about that, and then that's how it's this crazy cycle, and then when you start like no, it's not that, like you dumbasses, then you get called, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist, like it was on the news, how can they're not lying to us. It's like, oh my god, it
Like,
just
yeah, because they didn't lie to us about Corona. Remember, it's like, oh, 99% effective. Oh, 92% effective. Actually, 90, it's like 83% effective. Actually,
actually
75% effective.
4% effect.
Yeah,
It's like,
right. And so, yeah, I mean, if you want to be safe and like, yeah, just drink bottled water for the in the meantime, okay?
Flint. How long is like and that's barely been reported like outside of like a few things, but like how long has Flint's water been fucked up and they haven't done a goddamn thing about it?
Right, exactly.
And it's like, how often is that talked about? Like zero.
Exactly. It was useful, to what is it? To campaign off of to raise funds. Yeah, but like, did they actually go in and fix the pipe? Did they offer, some special government programs like, hey, let us know if, your water is like all brackish or whatever, and we'll subsidize the replacement of your pipes.
Yeah,
No.
this could be a uh, if it's not a ghost town right now, it will be.
Right, exactly. Don't let's not forget the lessons that we learned the last 3 years. Okay? Because if we forget, then they're just gonna lock you down in a different way. You know, I think they blew their wad with the COVID stuff, and I think whoever was gonna be afraid and get the shot, they were gonna do it anyways, no matter what.
A lot of
But
people got cum on their face, that's for sure.
right, but yeah, it's like they're always gonna try and run like different narratives and different scare tactics, and it's just like take a minute and do some research yourself, and I mean you know uh don't just go off of like and don't get into like their fear traps. It's like, oh, why aren't they covering this? This is a huge ecological disaster. Like, yeah, are some people experiencing headaches or whatever or nausea from like fumes? Sure, okay. But is it the vast majority of the people in the area? Probably not.
Yeah,
You
climate
know.
weirdos are definitely going to talk about it, but it's not. Yeah, this is I'm kind of agreeing with you that I don't think that this is what is being said about the thing is not really the problem. There is a problem,
Mhm.
but this isn't it. Yeah,
Right.
it's
I dare say it's more of an infrastructure thing than it is like some conspiracy or whatever, and it's probably more just like the negligence of the corporations themselves. Um,
yeah. That's more that is I am 95% sure it is negligence, which is mostly what causes all of our problems. Negligence,
exactly.
not being prepared, not thinking ahead, or like oh well, there's a problem coming up, but well, because of like whatever stupid, regulation or
Right. And what is it? And like
you.
people are like people especially on the right, they're like, or people who would be on our side, they're freaking out saying like, oh well, why aren't they declaring this an emergency? It's like you want the federal government to go in there and help you?
No,
No, absolutely
I want to
not,
go the
folks.
fuck away.
We've had 3 years of the government helping us.
Yeah, hell, like what it like look at like the FEMA response. Look how that helped New Orleans or like wherever else there's a disaster. FEMA hasn't done a goddamn thing.
Yeah, exactly. Except for consolidate power, which is a bad thing.
Yeah, it's stuff like it's just we do have an issue. It's negligence, and
Exactly.
this government that we have now that's in power
Mhm.
is the most negligent and incompetent I have ever seen in my life.
Yeah, but I mean, I dare say that it's this is a problem that Biden didn't start, but he's definitely making it worse.
He exacerbated it.
He's
He's made it
exacerbated because
worse.
it's like because also this goes the negligence also is due to failed policies from like 30, 40, 50 years ago. You know,
That,
and I'm
and that's true.
and
Like I
I'm
said,
yeah, and I'm like, and I'm talking about like affirmative action, or even like quotas. And look at the incident that happened, with the Tyree Nichols guy and the Memphis police. It's like it's on record that they like those cops when those cops were hired, they lowered their standards
yep,
for
yep,
for entrance into the academy. They lowered their standards because what were they doing? Because everyone was calling for defunding the police and abolish the police, and it's like who wants to be a cop with that kind
hell no.
with that kind of sentiment in the air?
They would have
Nobody. You're gonna get like the worst of the worst applying
they
to
would
be police officers during at that time.
for me to be a cop, they would have to pay me like $10 million a year.
Dude,
Fuck
they would
that.
have like screw that. They'd have to pay me in gold. Like I'm talking like
Well, yeah,
literal gold bars. You have to like that's the only way I'd be a cop. You have to pay me in gold bars.
actual asset,
Yeah, actual assets.
not some monopoly.
Yeah, not some
Not
monopoly
really
funny money. Not some like Weimar Republican.
fiat currency or
Yeah,
whatever the yeah
brr.
yeah. There's
Oh,
no fuck.
what I learned. Fiat means let it be
Yeah.
in Italian or Latin.
Yep.
Let it be. Yeah. Yeah, let it be. Not backed by anything. Let it be.
If it was in the 40s or 50s, sure, I'd be a cop.
Right? Just walk around, swinging my, billy club around, tipping my hat to the fine.
Nothing to see here. So I have an Irish
Yeah,
accent.
tipping my hat to the fine ladies of the neighborhood.
I mean, I do like I said, I do love a good like cop drama or like especially like noir investigative thrillers. I love that stuff.
Mhm.
But yeah, like actually being a cop, like God, it is one of the most horrible. And I'm talking about more like local police. Because obviously our government has been like trying to like build up the federal police
Mhm.
while demeaning and just trying to destroy local police forces. Now some police forces have done really like horrible jobs, like we talked to in Uvalde. Yeah, those guys all deserve to be fired. That is one of the most sorry bullshit displays I've ever seen. Hell,
Yeah,
even
I
like
mean, you want to talk
Parkland was
about
bad too.
yeah, I mean,
Parkland was
you want to talk about a bureaucratic quagmire. It's like, what was that like? How many different agencies were on the scene of that?
and did absolutely nothing.
Yeah, and there's like multiple agents, law enforcement agencies on the scene, and they're all arguing about jurisdiction. And there was like what, like 400 personnel, like combined from those various law enforcement agencies, and they
Meanwhile,
wait
going on,
they waited for 45 minutes.
meanwhile, a bunch of additional people died while they were doing that.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
as they were parsing out like who had jurisdiction or who had operational command, like you were hearing like gunshots in the background and screams of little children.
Jesus. I mean, Parkland's kind of the same thing. Like it's another bullshit bullshit police who are too scared to do their job. Which hey, honestly, it's not an easy job. I'm not disregarding that.
Yeah,
But
you're not doing the Monday the armchair quarterback thing.
yeah, if you're too cowardly to run towards the danger to protect people at the sacrifice of your own life, time to give up the job. Time to either retire or find a new job. Sorry, that is part of what it takes to be a policeman. No matter what uh, division or whatever you're in, that's part of the job. Sorry, and um, but yeah, like but as far as like good actual good policemen within cities and towns or whatever, those guys are being denigrated.
Mm-hmm.
Yet the federal police, like our FBI, not God, even IRS and all these other like
ATF, DEA. Yeah, they're all they're all getting a shot in the arm. I mean, pardon the
oh,
expression.
and how dare we like speak ill of them?
Yeah. Oh, like the FBI. They're on the front lines, man. They're making sure that we don't fall into anarchy. It's like, bro, you don't even know the history of the FBI. You
The
probably don't
FBI,
know, dude.
uh,
The FBI was, I mean, yes, interstate, policing or whatever, but dude,
it long
it was,
ago gave up its like what it was meant
yeah,
for.
its
They
mandate.
gave
It's yeah, that
a
mandate
long
is done.
time ago.
And that started with J. Edgar Hoover. Dude, like
Hmm.
that, dude. The FBI was basically American Gestapo.
Yeah,
They spied on
it,
Americans. They had, J. Edgar Hoover had all the dirt on everybody.
but like when it first started, uh, it was a good idea. It's like because it was a way to track criminals who were going through like
Yeah, yeah, cooperative
different things
interstate
at a
policing.
time where like communication was low. So it's like, okay, well this guy let's track these crimes very similar, and let's see if like we can find it, like if we can maybe track this guy down or if it's the same person. Looks like it is the same person. He's been traveling through 3 different states. Okay, let's coordinate with where these crimes are happening, and that's a great idea. I have no problem with that. That sounds awesome. But
Right.
that's not being like a thing back in the 30s during the Prohibition era. Uh that's when Hoover took over and really made into this like weird,
FBI became American Gestapo. That's
yeah, and he was a cross-dressing Gestapo.
yeah. I mean, yeah, his personal predilections are another thing, but yeah, it's like you can't convince me that the FBI isn't American Gestapo because I frankly know better.
It certainly is now. I mean, more so than ever. But like, yeah, it's been like
Yeah.
that for
But that's what I'm arguing.
80
I'm saying
years.
that it always was that.
It's been like that for 80 years.
Yeah, well, yeah, but again, I'm saying that it always was that, and like it always, because the head rots from the head down, and J. Edgar Hoover was the first director of the FBI, so it could, so that
Well, well, like before it officially became the FBI, before he was the actual director, it actually did serve a good
yeah,
purpose. Like,
okay, but I'm saying like at the founding, that's what it always was. It was always American Gestapo. Like
I
yeah, like in
slightly
the interim, yeah, like when it was just like interstate, police, cooperation or communication, yeah, okay, that's what
this,
that was. But as
this
soon
is
as
when it
J.
was
Edgar Hoover consolidated in power and made the FBI like FBI, then yeah,
when it was just
it
the
was always
bureau.
then that's when it was always American Gestapo.
Yeah. No, I'm saying when it became the Federal Bureau of Investigation, it was something else. I think it was just the Bureau of Investigation, and
Mm-hmm.
it was just a way to help like interstate
Right, interstate
uh,
policing.
yeah, which was not a bad idea
Mm-hmm.
because there
Yeah.
wasn't a whole lot of communication between like bumfuck Kentucky and Louisiana, New Orleans, Louisiana. It's but like this one person is committing crimes in these 2 states, but and he's just bouncing back and forth. Well, now you have someone that's like, well, let's connect those dots. Hey, he's doing this stuff. Like, let's work together and let's get coordinated and let's find this guy. Great, that sounds awesome. But yeah, like I do agree. Like once it became like more like when this thing became more federalized and
Yeah,
the
it became more surveillance.
that's when it like and like I said, it's been like 80 or 90 years where it's been like not, it's been awful. It's been like, it's been the Gestapo. It's been our version of it. nowadays even more than ever. Like it just it's horrible.
Yeah. So yeah, to wrap it up, let's I know we see these things on the news or whatever. Just like just remember the news this is the same news that was telling you that if you didn't mask up, stay 6 feet away, and got the clot shot, then you're gonna kill grandma. All right, you think you think that they're telling us about East Palestine out of the goodness of their heart, or it's like like they decided what we need to get back to the important stories that people actually care about. No, you'll never convince me otherwise.
Yeah, exactly.
So so all I'm saying is, don't don't get like hopped up on the fear and the cortisol, all right? Because because now they're just feeding you stuff that they want, that you want to see, and like now, look at people are like now saying like, oh, why isn't FEMA getting involved? Why isn't the president declaring
I don't want them involved.
exactly, and like people are literally saying this, that the why isn't the president declaring an emergency? It's like, people, do you not? What was the last situation that the president called declared an emergency? It was like something like three. It was like sometime like 3 years ago. Like literally, like it's coming up on like the third year. And technically, he hasn't even lifted the emergency. We're still under the state of emergency. 3 years later.
Oh, not until like what, May or whatever the fuck he said. Why?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because it was supposed to end, again. Like they keep saying like, oh, it's supposed to end at a certain time, and then they extend it like another 3 months.
Oh, we're still in an emergency, guys.
Exactly.
Oh, no.
You want the president to declare another emergency? Come on, people.
Fucking ridiculous.
Indeed. But yeah, I mean, that's all I got to say about that.
That's all I got to say about that too. Like it's just,
yeah. Let's not forget the lessons of the past, everybody. All right, let's keep our let's keep our discernment open here.
And we're not even talking about like 40 years ago, 30 years ago, 20 years ago. We're talking about 3 years ago. Can we at least do 3 years ago? Like, have we learned?
I know. Are we like Have people's memories gotten that of like the equivalency of a goldfish?
Dude, I'm telling you, like, we live in a country of dementia patients who like they can't remember stuff that happened in the news yesterday.
I know, and I mean, I sympathize because sometimes I don't I don't even remember sometimes like what I did the day before, but let's work to be better, people. That's all I'm saying.
Come
let's
on.
Work to be better. All right.
Exactly.
Okay.
Be better.
Be better. Be better. Oh man. Oh yeah. So satisfying to take something that was used like so smugly against, you know, our side technically, and just throwing it back in their faces.
Hey, that's why I brought it up.
Beep butter. Beep butter.
Because I'm an asshole. That's why.
All right. Yeah, let's get on to the next topic here. And we want to talk about the Project Veritas dust up. And I know, and again, this is like one of those things where there's a lot of speculation, a lot of conspiracy theories. Why this happened. Like one of them was that Pfizer got into one of the board members or whatever on the Project Veritas board, and was calling it a chick. After that viral video of that one executive talking about how they're what was it, guided evolution or whatever.
Oh my god! Like,
basically saying like, oh yeah, we have to make the super bug so we can come up with a vaccine to defeat it.
That whole situation created not only one but two viral videos.
That's right.
Which is pretty fucking amazing.
Right. But yeah, because there was like that initial video where the guy was talking about, oh yeah, we're actually creating these super bugs so we can come up with the vaccines for it. But then also when after the sting operation, James O'Keefe goes and confronts the guy, and he just like completely loses it. It's like, he was like I'm a liar. You can't trust that thing I say. I'm a liar. I was trying to impress someone. I was trying to get that sweet D. All right, that's why I said that.
Dude, I'm telling you, he went all Chris Hansen To Catch a Predator.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like it's so, dude, you are caught, brother. I'm sorry. You fucked up. Oh my
right?
god! I'm sorry. That was a work of fucking genius. Oh
right.
my!
Because I don't know if people get, it's particularly in the first video, in the sting operation, where he says like, oh yeah, we're creating these super bugs to make the vaccine for it. It's like, if that's the case, then are you releasing this super bug so that people will need the vaccine?
Well, I mean it's literally the premise of Mission Impossible 2.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And so I don't know if people like that. I don't know if people caught that initially, but it's like that's what like the whole like if you make the if you selectively evolve it and then make the vaccine for that specific strain, like how are you then going to market that if that specific strain isn't released?
Exactly. Like that's the whole point. That's what these virology clinics are doing. They're creating like these super bugs that they're creating, whatever, some vaccine for at the same time, because they want to release this shit. And then it's like, oh well, there's this new disease, and well, guess what? Pfizer just came out with some new, we're on the cutting edge of 10 million people died, but we have the cure. It only took us 6 months, although they already had it from the fucking beginning. But the government and these governments will pay us
Yeah, I
$1 million
mean,
a vial.
Mission Impossible, the V for Vendetta. That's the same plot. It's the same storyline.
Same fucking thing, dude. It's fucking evil.
Right. Well,
And this guy got
but back, kind of getting it back on the trail. But yeah, some people theorize that someone on the board was compromised by Pfizer, and so therefore they initiated this thing, to oust James O'Keefe. But more and more information is coming out, and what was it? I recently watched a video by a creator going by the name of Mr. Reagan, and he postulates that it may not be like that specific theory, but it might have to do with financial malfeasance on the part of James O'Keefe. And it pretty much boils down to he was misappropriating company money.
Which based and Mr. Reagan is a very fair person. He's very well. He does his due diligence. He's very well researched. I tend to believe, and I think, to be honest, his video is very, very fair compared to some of the other stuff that's been out there. And I would say I tend to see that I think Mr. Reagan probably has the right mind. It's not like I said, James O'Keefe has done a lot of good work. Let's just put that out there.
Right.
I think he's exposed a lot of these, really terrible people. He's kind of exposed a lot of evil, which is a good thing. And to do that, you have to have a lot of chutzpah, to use a Yiddish term.
To borrow a term from our small-hatted friends.
Yeah, but that doesn't make you a lot of friends. And I've based off of like what we heard, like he's actually not really an easy person to work with. And I think that I don't know if it's necessarily like from personally with James O'Keefe, is he just kind of a jerk who is doing a good, it's like he's a bad guy that's doing a good thing, or like is it just did he just fall into like making some mistakes, or or what is it? We just you and me, we just don't really know. Only the people within Project Veritas really know what the issue is. It doesn't seem like it's like a Pfizer coming after him or anything like that. It just seems like it's more of a James O'Keefe made some faux pas, and because he's also at the same time he's also not really a great person to work with. He's very, very difficult to work with, and that tends to make a lot of enemies and burn a lot of bridges. And so that when that happens, when there are some discrepancies, we'll call them discrepancies, that it makes it like where, well, you don't have any friends really. Like it's not like
you have no allies to back you up.
Exactly, where it's like we're seeming like because some of the stuff that he is accused of doing is not really all that bad per se. Like I mean, there's a few things where like, oh, that doesn't seem right, and but at the same time, it's like, yeah, it's not really that bad, but at the same time, it's this is not good. We need to kind of like we need to not do this.
Right.
Or like you kind of deal with it.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know, Project Veritas isn't. It's a nonprofit organization.
Exactly.
The way they make money is through fundraising and investors.
Yeah.
And so like they're not so that's why there's no like big ads taken out for Project Veritas like
we're not seeing
because usually when something or an organization gets big enough, they start taking out ads on like on YouTube, for example, and Facebook and things like that. Like I mean, look at Daily Wire. I've seen loads of advertisements for them on YouTube.
Yeah.
So
there's no Super Bowl ad for Project Veritas.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. So it's not as though they're like rolling in the money. And so and again, I'll link the Mr. Reagan video in the description if people want to go check it out.
I think it's the most fair out of all the ones I've seen.
Yeah, me too, and like the most kind of like logical, because I'm sure the governing board of Project Veritas, they didn't want this to go public. I'm sure they would rather, because then it chases away off other potential investors or donations. So, but James O'Keefe kind of jumped the gun. Yeah,
booby.
But what is it? James O'Keefe kind of jumped the gun and put out that video talking about like why this is happening or why he thinks this is happening, and like kind of giving like his side of the story, and where he admits that he's not the most warm person, and he's not the boss to go around like, oh, like, yeah, how's your mom doing, or how what'd you do over the weekend. He's not that kind of boss.
Because and part of that is, I think, because the guy, maybe he has an ego. I'm sure he does, and that's okay. But I think I think a lot of it has to do because he is a very focused guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like want I want I want to make sure that that people see the truth, and to be honest, to expose the truth, I kind of have to be a dick.
Right.
She
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. He's a Type A personality.
Like, I mean, Chris Hansen was kind of a dick, but you know what? It was for a good cause,
Right.
and I think it's kind of the same thing.
Right. Yeah. And maybe James O'Keefe, he jumped the gun a little bit. In Mr. Reagan the video, he said that from what he's heard from his sources within the organization, like they were trying to handle this quietly, and like they wanted to, they just wanted to go through the books or whatever, and you know, uh,
Let's
and
just clean this up.
yeah,
It's
yeah, let's clean it up,
big.
real
But
quiet
let's clean
like,
it up.
and let's keep on the business of exposing left left wing craziness. But again, like I think James O'Keefe's ego got in the way and just like say, oh, I am Project Veritas, and da, 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 so I'm gonna take my case to the people, as it were. Um,
Exactly, and see, like I said, it does come to pride, and does he have a lot to be proud about? Absolutely, but
mhm.
there comes a point where there's a limit to that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, all credit in the world. I think his model of undercover work and then him being the face, is the right thing to do, because like you can't have, because what is it? You can't have the person who did the undercover thing write the story and then put their name to it, and so like now their cover is burned, or and they can never do this type of undercover work ever again, and um, and I mean, I guess you could say that once the video comes out, and the subject of said undercover sting will probably put two and two together to figure out who it is. But um, um, maybe it was a little bit of of envy or jealousy that that these undercover reporters couldn't put their name to their work. Um, but I think and I think but I still think that the Project Veritas model of uh, investigative journalism and reporting is a good one. You have the reporter that goes and does the sting, and then they bring back the footage, and James O'Keefe is the one that either does the confronting or uh, does the reporting or does the confrontation with the subject in the video. I think is a good one, and I think um, I think a lot of up and coming journalism organizations would be smart to adopt that model. Um, Also, an interesting tidbit information that Mr. Reagan relayed was that the average turnaround for a Project Veritas employee was 16 months. And I don't know if that's necessarily the reporters or if that's just kind of like um, the behind the scenes people too.
Yeah.
But I would imagine, if you are one of these, one of the reporters or investigative journalists that goes and does these stings or the undercover work, if the subject of those videos was even has a modicum amount of intelligence, they'd probably be able to figure out, who you were. They would be able to like,
Yeah.
yeah, once that video drops and they see themselves and then like in like the location that they're at, like I think they'd be, again, if they had a modicum of intelligence, they'd be able to put one and one together and figure out who you were.
Well, it's just like with
And
like undercover
so
cops. Like,
that might.
forever.
I'm sorry. What was that?
I'm saying it's just like with like undercover cops. Like you can't just like have the same undercover cop over like three different stings. It just doesn't fucking work because especially when like if you're working in like a specific city, you're doing this like huge undercover sting. Though the underworld is gonna know your face. Oh shit, that's the guy. It's like you can't go back, to do another sting. It just doesn't work.
Right.
It's gonna be the same if it is like those if it is those undercover guys. It makes sense that like it's not that I don't want to use you, but like I can't use you because your face is known.
Mm-hmm.
These people know each other. They know. Oh, there's this guy like that I was talking to. He looks like this, like, and like
Yeah.
there's all this other
Or
stuff.
this girl.
Yeah, exactly. They're gonna see who you are. It's not because he doesn't want to use you. It's not that you're not effective, but like it's just but like if you come into the room, they're gonna know that there's something going on. You know what I mean? Like I think there is a part of that. Um, but yeah, it could also be like that he's kind of an asshole, and that's okay. And once again, you have to be in that type of position to get stuff done. And some people just can't handle that, and that's okay too. And that doesn't mean that it's okay that he's like that. It just means that like, but it is a very tough what is happening with Project Veritas, and I hope maybe like what happens here is that we get more of this stuff. Like it's a bunch of different people doing
Right.
this
Yeah.
stuff.
Exact. While you were away, I said, yeah. While you're away, I said like, any up and coming like journalism organization or whatever or publication, like they'd be smart to adopt this model of
Of
journalism,
course.
especially like the undercover investigative journalism. They, it's so effective, Um,
And I for one, I'm not going to stop supporting Project Veritas. I don't think this puts like a damper on like what they've done or what they're going to do in the future, because I think what they have done has been very good. It's been a good thing. And you know what? Sometimes like bad people do good things. Yeah. Um, and like I said, exposing the truth is a dirty business sometimes, and you get a lot. And maybe James O'Keefe was a nice person at one point, but he had to become a very fucked up person to do this job because it's something that he believed in. And we don't really know. Like this isn't like the whole like Jordan Peterson thing or like what he's not a grifter. I don't think he's a grifter. I think he's doing a very tough job, and like I said, the financial stuff. Now, if he is guilty of all, like if he did something really sinister with the money, like from his investors and all that, and he misappropriated funds, you know what? Like I hope that he does get his due deal. He does get his comeuppance or whatever. But I don't think that puts a damper on what he did because he exposed the truth. It's not like that he was saying things about people. He allowed those
right.
people to say that about.
He wasn't slandering anybody. He was, he was holding the mirror. He was like, he was showing people their own words.
It's
he wasn't taking anyone out of context or or saying something that they didn't say. Like he just showed like the video.
exactly. I wouldn't put him in like the same vein as like some of the other conservative grifters that are out there, and there's a lot of them. um, so yeah, I like I said, I still think that, and Project Veritas is it's not just James O'Keefe, it's the other people that are involved.
Right.
In a
It's the
lot of
whole team.
cases,
Yeah, he's the face of it, sure. But yeah, there's an
but it's
entire
not.
team. Um,
And what they've done is good work.
yeah, and I mean, I don't know. I really hope that they're able to, because yeah, it's not only James O'Keefe at Project Veritas, but James O'Keefe is Project Veritas. You know, he's the one that started it. You know, he is the face. You know, I'm sorry to say, he is the face of Project Veritas, and so I hope that you know things can be worked out, or you know they could be adjudicated, and you know maybe he you know maybe in you know maybe he didn't misappropriate the funds. Uh, you know, and if you know that happens, you know, and if it's found out that he didn't misappropriate funds, okay, great. Let's just get back to um,
Let's just like
the
it's
business of
nothing.
telling the truth.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's nothing personal. It's just business, and because that is important because there's more than just James O'Keefe at stake, but at the same time that he should, yeah, he is the face, but it's not just him too. Like, so I understand like where you have to we have to do things in the right way, but I can also understand too like where because everything is everything that they do is high stakes.
mhm.
Getting the information, going undercover, that is a very 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 difficult thing to do, and it's very stressful. Um, Even though like James O'Keefe isn't necessarily like the one that's going under because his face is known,
Mhm.
but coordinating all that shit is very very stressful, and I can't even imagine like what they have to go through just to get something done, to get a story. That's got to be just one story has got to be one of the most stressful things to go through.
Mm. Yeah. But I am
Maybe
curious. I am curious as to how attractive like the female investigate undercovers are, because goddamn, it's like
hell,
these,
how
because
attractive are
like
the
these
male?
guys, like the guys that are like the more like the straight ones, like they're just like telling them everything, and I'm just like watching this video thinking like, damn, how hot is this chick? She has to be at the minimum a 9,
I gotta see those tits, dude.
right? I need to, I want to see how smart she is. How
Yeah.
smart.
What in hell? Like how good looking are the gay guys?
Oh yeah, the games. Yeah, I mean, like the last guy, the Pfizer guy, he was like saying, it's like I'm a liar. I was saying all that to impress someone on a date. You know?
Yeah, I mean, would it be where it's like I'm a straight guy, but like I would fuck him? Like,
Yeah, I know, right?
is this like David Beckham? It's like
Right? Yeah, I know. It's like the David Beckham of undercover reporters.
for real, dude.
All right. Anything else to add to that?
No, I don't. It's an interesting story. It's tough to hear. And like I said, this is not like I don't think of James O'Keefe as a grifter. I think what he's done is good stuff. Like this isn't like Jordan Peterson, and like although what he was saying is still think very true things, but I don't really look to Jordan Peterson as like this um not like idol is the wrong word, like kind of like someone to look up to. Like I don't necessarily look up to Jordan Peterson. I just think he said
I
true
just a
things.
role model, a role model.
Yeah, role model. I don't necessarily see James O'Keefe as a role model either. Like, I don't, but I think what he's done is
Right? Yeah. You
great.
just
Great.
recognize that he's doing good work.
Exactly. Both of them have done great work, but I don't look to them as role models. Nor do I think anybody should look to them as role models.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like I said, everyone's flawed, and to a certain case, the work should be admired. I think that's the case. The work should be admired.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah. There's certain creatures that um, that I don't agree with, or I think actually did some harm. Especially like when it comes to like the realm of like politics and things like that. Um, but I mean, but even though I have my disagreements with them, like I can still acknowledge that that they said some like really good things about faith and or about theology and things like that. But then when I do, I always have to give the caveat saying like I don't think this guy should be listened to like or this guy shouldn't be given like all the trust. But in this one area, he said something cool.
Bingo. That exactly.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, because everyone knows like I don't particularly I don't particularly think very fondly of Jordan Peterson, even though initially I was a big Jordan Peterson super fan. I'll admit that. But when it
Like I said, I think the guy has done good work. I
yeah,
think he has
yeah.
said true things.
Yeah,
But I wouldn't
but
necessarily like
more and
want to like.
more like when like once I started seeing like more and more of like his character, I was just more like like can I acknowledge that you said some really based shit? Yeah, but I will not direct anyone to you any longer.
No, no.
And say like I was like, oh, you gotta listen to this guy. He's great. It's like no, I will no longer send people to you. I will quote you but I will give like heavy caveats like I don't like this guy for X and Y reason, but he said this really cool thing, which is Z.
Yeah, and then there's other people that we listen to that have, like are consistently on like the right they're on the right path, and I tend to listen to them. Like I think Owen Benjamin, like he doesn't claim to be anybody like some sage or like he knows better than anybody. That it's like that he's like lived this pure life and like if you do these things you're gonna no he's never said any of that stuff.
Right.
He's just a guy who thinks through things and he just kind of looks at things the way that they are and sometimes says some very unsavory things that tend to be true but because the truth is very
Yeah.
unsavory
He
at
says some
times.
uncomfortable truths, but it's they're only uncomfortable because you're not used to them.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
but
and
I
and
honestly
I don't agree with him on everything. I mean, just like recently, he's been getting on like this theology thing, and I don't believe the same in his theology, but that's okay because I don't go to him for theology. I don't go and like he's not my pastor, so I don't expect him.
and I think that's also something where like he is also working through stuff. He has shown like that's one thing with Owen Benjamin is he's a guy that is going to work through things. So something that he might like you might disagree with today, he's going to change his mind and work through something. Is like, oh, you know what? I said that before, but now I'm seeing something different, and like I was wrong then, and I think this is the truth. And that's and to be honest, I can respect that
Right.
because
Yeah,
he
and
doesn't he doesn't say like, "Oh, I never said that before. Now I'm this." It's like, no, you see his thought process and he's very open and honest with his thought process. And that's just him being that's what normal people do. We work we it everything that we go through is a process, right? We all go through things, we think through things, and it's like, I was very adamant about this in the past, but you know what? I've grown. I've thought through things. I've grown, and you know what? I was wrong, and there's something so refreshing about that. It's like it's okay to be wrong. That's human. It's okay.
right.
That's why like I respect someone like Owen Benjamin because he's willing to like I fucked up there. That's okay. I was wrong, And I think something very differently about this thing now. So who knows? 6 months, a year, 2 years from now, he might be completely different when it comes to his theology. Maybe he's worked through it.
Right. I mean, yeah. I mean, because I don't know if you were familiar or you were following, but yeah, he like had a recent theology debate about the Trinity, and he doesn't believe in the Trinity, but I do, and despite his arguments, and usually he's pretty good about like his argument and logic and things like that.
Yeah.
But it's but his arguments only made me cling to the theology of the Trinity even more.
Here's the other thing too, is like we don't know how long he's been wrestling with that either.
Right.
You and I have been thinking about that, wrestling with it, discussing it, thinking about it for probably. I mean, now I've been a Christian for almost 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're right around the same time as well.
Yeah. Well, I was like raised in the church, but then I made my declaration of faith when I was like in seventh, eighth grade.
So right around, yeah. So we're right around the same time.
Which is about 97, 98.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah,
And
I've been a Christian for a long time, and I wasn't living. I wasn't. I didn't get like the Christian download and like all of a sudden I believe these things. I think I mostly coasted and be like, okay, this is what my church is teaching, so this is what I'm going. This is what I believe, and then as I got older, I started investigating more for myself. I read the Bible more. I read like companion books like and so on and so on. And now I'm like making the faith more and more my own. With every passing year.
and that is exactly what should happen. And like I said, that's why like I think that given a few years, Owen's probably gonna be like, oh, you know what? Maybe I was wrong about that. Like now that I've had more time to think about it, I've had more time to pray about it, and like kind of like look into those things. Like he might change his mind. It's you and I have been wrestling with this stuff for almost 3 decades, and the thing about like that particular thing is that we I forget which theologian said that. It's like the more I think about the Trinity, the crazier I get. Which is it is not a it doesn't human logic. Humanity cannot make logic out of the Trinity, yet it is still true.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many mysteries within the universe that we just can't figure out.
Right. Yeah. I mean, more and more more and more I'm finding like everything in the Bible is pointing towards Jesus and like the perfect fulfillment. Like I mean, most people might what is it? Most people may not have thought of this, but like the idea that Jesus being the perfect Adam. He's the second Adam, but the perfect Adam because he lived the life that Adam ought to have lived. But
Exactly. Yeah.
but he also embodies all of the different Bible characters, in my opinion. He's the perfect Jonah because he's the one because Jonah was told to go to the what is it, Ninevites, to go and to repent or whatever, to carry that message, and Jonah doesn't, but Jesus does. Jesus goes down. He goes to the place that is objectively like worse than the place that he was, which is Jesus goes from the glory of heaven to the muck of the earth, but he still goes. He's faithful. Um, he's also the he perfectly embodies all of the prophets and the various characters in the Bible.
Thank you. Exactly.
And so
And
so and that's something that like didn't like occur to me like as a young man, but now as I've gotten older and I've been studying and I've been like hearing a lot of different, I've been hearing a lot of different teachers and different sources, like I'm like slowly getting to that point where it's like I'm, I have my theology and I have my worldview, and they're becoming one and the same.
and I think that's why, like, I have, I was talking about, there's that passage in, I think it's I don't know, I can't remember if it's First or Second Peter, but as far as like, giving a reason for why you have the hope that you have in Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it's I that's why I study the Bible so relentlessly, because I want to be able to share with people like why I have the faith that I do. I'm not the perfect Christian. I'm not like some, you know, wise sage. I don't have all the answers, but I do have one answer as to why I believe in Jesus, and I do have a lot of hope, despite, like, my situation isn't perfect. I don't have a lot of money. I don't have a lot of, I don't have everything that I wish I had in the world, but despite those things, I know that everything's going to be just fine. God has taken care of me so much in my life, especially since I've become a Christian. Everything has worked out, and even if it doesn't work out, when things were at their lowest, when things just kind of really fell apart for me for a while, I was like, you know what, I I could lose it all and be on the streets and have nothing, be, kind of just in a really bad place. But you know what I have over everything else is I have my faith in Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as I have that, I have life
Mm-hmm.
and I have hope.
Amen.
And so I'm gonna cling to that.
Mm-hmm.
And that has really worked out very well for me.
Amen. Amen. Yeah, no, like, yeah, I totally agree with you. Because like my life isn't where it is, and and my situation. I don't want to get into the details right now, but like, yeah, I'm in the same boat as you were, and but like,
We're
I'm
not
not.
swimming around in Rolling Rock money, that's for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, right. uh, but yeah, like, yeah, every day I'm learning to put my faith, in God and Jesus and the Holy Spirit, all that stuff. And I've only like I'm like and I'm just more joyful, and I'm happy, and I'm content. Let's say that's a better word, content. Um, and just, yeah, and like and getting more revelation uh, has only made me more hungry for, like, gospel, and the scripture and things like that. Like that whole like the whole like me realizing that Jesus is the perfect embodiment of every like single Bible character. Like that came through like that debate that Owen Benjamin had about the Trinity, because like one of the questions was like, because Owen has more like a Unitarian uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
theology, where it's like, oh, God is one. It's like, so who was God praying to in the garden? And when I was thinking about that question, who was God praying to, or who was Jesus praying to? I it just dawned on me that uh, in the garden, Jesus is the perfect representation of Jacob, of Israel,
Yep.
because we all know that Jacob struggled with God, and that's why he got his name changed to Israel, which means to struggle or wrestle with God. And what was Jesus doing in the Garden of Gethsemane? He was wrestling with God. He was his human nature was wrestling with the divine nature, and he was the human nature was coming to terms with what he had to go through.
Here's the difference between Jacob and Jesus, though. Jacob was forced to submit.
Right.
Jesus willingly submitted.
Exactly.
And that's the difference, because as humans, yeah, we are forced to submit. But like we're like Christ, as a perfect human, willingly submitted. Yeah, it's yeah. I think you are definitely onto something that I had not really thought about, but yeah, he really is the perfect embodiment of all these, of all the biblical heroes.
Mm-hmm.
Because all our biblical heroes are very flawed,
Mm-hmm.
big time.
Yeah.
But
He's a perfect embodiment of Moses. He's the perfect embodiment of Elisha. He's the perfect embodiment of Jonah, of Israel, of Jacob. On
well,
David and
because Christ is the perfect fulfillment of the Mosaic law that all the Israelites worked off of.
mm-hmm.
Now we have it's a new law. It's a complete. We have completed the Mosaic law. Now we are in this new era, and that's what I think. That's also why I'm a believer in. Now we're getting to some theology, but like within not the hell is the word I'm looking for? It's I'm blanking on the word. Fuck. But anyways, it's the essentially it's like there's different eras that biblical characters lived through based off the revelation that they were given.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'll remember it at some point, but like probably by next week. But there's a couple of different schools of thought on that, but like whereas because some people are worried about like, okay, the Israelites of like the Old Testament, like way back in like Genesis and then like how are they actually saved, or are they just kind of uh or what? And the reality is like I believe they are, because they were given a specific revelation and they believed in that. They believed that God was in control of their lives, and if they met the conditions that God gave them, that they would be saved. And I believe that they were. Whereas like when you look at a New Testament Christian, things were different. Like they weren't under the Mosaic law. They were under this
The new
like this
covenant.
new the new covenant. And so things were different. They had new revelation. And that doesn't mean that the Old Testament Christian, the Old Testament believers were less than. They believed in what God gave them.
Mm.
That doesn't mean that they're any less saved. And I'm a believer in them.
I heard this interesting. I
Whereas,
heard this interesting thing, and yeah, I think
it's a dispensationalism. That's the
dispensationalism. Okay.
yeah. I'm a believer in that, because that makes more sense, way more sense to me than the covenant theology where it's kind of the same thing, but it's really like it's much more complicated.
Mm. Oh God, what was I was going to ask you a question. Oh God, I completely lost what the question was.
I'm
But
sorry.
yeah, it's cool. Yeah, but it's fine. If it comes back to me, I'll come back to me. But yeah, okay. To wrap things up, though, yeah, the Project Veritas thing. I hope that they're able to work it out and eventually smooth things over and basically get back to the business of
The world needs a Project Veritas to
yeah.
do
And I
what it
mean, and if it so happens that James O'Keefe decides that he's going to go off and start his own thing, I think he's completely capable of doing that. Um,
And I don't think that's a bad thing. And I don't think it's bad that we have two different versions of Project Veritas.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly, I wish there was way more than that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I want liars exposed for the liars that they are, and I want the truth to be out there for people to see with their own two eyes and their own two ears.
Right.
That's what I want in this world. I want liars, and I want the truth exposed. That's what I want.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care how it comes to be. I want the truth out there.
There you go. All right. I think that'll do it for that. Let's get into the movie review, and we'll wrap it up.
Let's do it.
All right. Let me hit everyone with a synopsis, and we'll get going. All right. To remind you again, tonight's movie review is Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, starring Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton.
Don Siegel and
and a very young George Siegel.
George Siegel, not Don Siegel.
Famously, famously Mikey's biological father from Look Who's Talking.
Really? Oh my God! Yeah, right. Oh my God! I forgot about that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people do. I think especially in the '90s, I think he was better known as the father of the main character in that TV show with David Spade, Just Shoot Me.
Yep, that's where I remember when I first saw him.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's right. You're right. You're totally right. Oh my God.
All right. Yeah, let's hit everyone with the intro, the synopsis, and we'll get. History professor George and his boozy wife Martha return late one Saturday night from a cocktail party at the home of the college president, Martha's father. Martha announces that she invited another couple, newly appointed instructor Nick and his timid wife Honey, over for a nightcap. When the younger couple arrive, the night erupts into a no-holds-barred torrent of marital angst and verbal tirades.
Oh man.
This movie was released in 1966, directed by Mike Nichols. I think this movie based off a play, because it feels
yes,
kind
it
of
is.
like
It is based off a. The play is slightly different than than the movie.
Mm-hmm.
The movie was also because Elizabeth Taylor's character was meant to be kind of this like frumpy, ugly older lady.
Mm-hmm.
And initially this movie was going to be released in color, but Elizabeth Taylor was in her prime in 1966. They couldn't make her look ugly enough in color to make this work. So they decided they were going to shoot color, but they decided it has to be in black and white. You're too good looking.
Yeah, and it's funny because I think they definitely achieved the effect, because when you look, I mean, because you're right, because Liz Taylor is like at her yeah, I mean she's
still kind of hot in this
she's
movie.
still
I'm sorry.
really hot in the 1960s. Let's just put it that way. But yeah, the makeup
sure.
and like definitely. I'm sorry, what?
This is just a few years after Cleopatra, and she's still in her fucking prime.
Right.
And even in this film, she still looks kind of hot. I'm sorry.
Yeah. But they definitely achieved the effect, with the makeup, and then also shooting it in black and white. It definitely helped. But yeah, she was still I would that the character of Martha, I let her touch my penis.
Yeah, I mean, I could see like why someone would want to like have an affair with her as an older woman, and it's with black and white. Black and white covers up a lot of like problems, right? Like we dealt with that with this when we did our Tetsuo the Iron Man review. Is like, if that movie was in color, it'd be a fucking disaster. But because it's in black and white, the effects look really good.
Or the effects are very in Tetsuo the Iron Man. The black and white definitely helps to enhance the meager effects.
Exactly. Is this the first time you've seen this?
Yes, though I was familiar with the title, but I didn't know like what was it about. I only heard the title in passing.
What did you think about the movie? Like, did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you think what did you think about it?
Well, I didn't enjoy the characters.
No, they're all awful.
They're all awful. Like it kind of how I felt after watching this movie is how I felt after watching The Whale.
Gross.
That's how I felt. Like I hate these people. They all suck.
I'm gonna ask. So here's a question for you. Why did the young couple stay? Why did they like?
I know that's what I'm saying. It's like they could have easily just got up and left.
So this is like my third time watching the film. My thing is like, why that? So I think that the George Segal's wife. I'm trying. It was Honey, and what was his name?
Nick.
I think that because, first of all, they were with the daughter of
the president of the college.
The president of the college, and so I think that's part in because Nick was a young professor that was hired by that same president of the school. He's like, if I fuck this up, I'm fired. And this is like probably his first job as a professor. He's a young guy. I think that's why they
probably job security.
Because Honey go immediately is like, this is weird. We have already been at a party. They had been drinking already. It's like it's time to go home.
Right.
So nothing good happens after 10 p.m. right?
Yeah.
And they were
the old,
well
past old that. Saying goes, or like nothing good happens after 12.
Nothing good happens after 12. That's right.
Yeah.
It's like
although they were something great might happen at 12:30.
Well, I've had a few of those. But yeah, it's
right. Yeah. So Nick and Honey only stay for for fear that Nick might mess up his chance at furthering his career or whatever.
Do you think that this is the first couple that Martha and George have done this to?
Well, I mean, kind of jumping towards the end, it doesn't feel like it's the first couple that they ever done this to, because especially at the end when Martha starts referring to Nick as the houseboy, and then even George, he starts kind of like when they get into like that taunting bit where George starts calling him a houseboy too.
So okay, let's jump into that real quick.
Okay.
Did Martha and Nick sleep together?
I'm not 100% sure.
I think they did. I really think they did.
Again, I'm not 100% sure, but I would lean towards yes.
Because you have Honey passed out in the car. I mean, she is fucking
Yeah, she's gone.
loaded.
Yeah.
And Martha and George already drink like fishes. Like I mean, they are.
They can hold their liquor.
Yeah. And Nick, Martha has been coming on to Nick all night, and I think after all the drinks and all the just the mental games that they were playing together, there was something
all the
like
flirting, all the flirting.
Yeah, and I think it also happens to be that once again, she's the daughter of the president of the school, the old man. It's like
Daddy.
Yeah, and this is not the first time that this has happened between young professors and Martha.
Yeah. I would tend to agree.
This is not her first rodeo, okay? She has done this with many other young professors at the college. And like even George talked about like, oh, betting the wives as it was like, and he jokes about quote unquote jokes about it. It's not really a joke. He's kind of
he's being sardonic.
God, yeah, dude, Richard Burton is fucking amazing in this film.
Yeah, it's just his voice too. It just makes it even more awesome.
I can't imagine. Can you imagine anyone else but Liz Taylor and Richard Burton as those characters? I can't.
No, I mean not now. I mean,
no. I don't think there's anyone that could like match that at that time or now.
No, yeah, I mean now, modern times, yeah, especially no. I can't like if I was to remake this movie, I don't know who could play these roles.
Maybe Paul Newman and Joanne Woodward.
I mean,
maybe.
I'm if they did like a revival, but like, I'm talking about like right now in today's with the stable of actors that we have right now.
Fuck no, there's nobody.
If I was to make an attempt, if I was to cast George today,
it has to be American.
Not necessarily. Maybe Hugh Laurie.
Oh,
just based on his performance from House.
Who would play Martha?
Play Martha. Okay, yeah. Hugh Laurie, I would cast as George. For Martha, sorry for the dead air.
No, it's fine.
Okay, this is gonna sound a little crazy, but maybe Zoe Saldana.
No, there's no fucking way.
Maybe. I'm just thinking about the. I know it's not fair. I know it's not fair to compare performances. Because Liz Taylor, that's the performance I'm thinking about. Like who could possibly pull that off, but then like still like have like kind of like that sex factor.
See, here's the thing. Why I disagree is because one, it does need to be like a married couple, like in this role.
Okay.
It's because there is that and the type of couple that like Liz Taylor and Richard Burton were, they both loved each other and fucking hated each other at the same time.
Okay.
And there's like
New suggestion. God, what's what is it? Megan Mullally and her husband, the guy that played Ron Swanson.
Yes, they would be great in this. Oh, I could definitely see those two.
Okay, since you gave me the criteria of it had to be a married couple, then
they have to be a married couple.
Because like they already kind of did that same performance in Parks and Rec.
Dude, they would be great. That would be if they would do it. You can't
pick them because Nick Offerman. There you go. Nick Offerman and Megan Mullally.
Serious roles. He just did it.
I'm sorry?
I'm saying because Nick Offerman and both those characters can play serious characters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But then also but also in Parks and Rec, they already kind of had that Liz Taylor, Richard Burton love-hate thing going. Their characters on the show, and so they already portrayed that. But if you're right. If they could harness that and do it more dramatically, then that's it.
Pull that off.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, that would be actually I would be okay with that if they did a revival of this movie with those two. And I don't know who the younger couple is. Oh, maybe like a the guy who plays like Jim from The Office and his wife.
But do Nick and Honey have to be married too? Because technically, in the first movie, George Siegel and what's her face weren't married.
They weren't, but I think it would help.
Okay, all right. It's your game, man. Okay. But getting back to the movie, I'm gonna restate this, but I felt the way after watching this movie, I felt the same way after watching The Whale. I was like, I hate these people. They suck. No one in this foursome deserves happiness.
So I understand why you hate George and Martha. Why do you hate the young couple? And why do you? Well, I mean, Nick, I can kind of understand. Why do you hate Honey?
Because Honey trapped Nick. That's why.
Oh yeah. Oh okay.
Because Honey trapped Nick. Because like the hysterical pregnancy,
which was a real pregnancy that turned out to be an abortion.
Pretty much.
Which is fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
And it almost like mirrors what is going on with George and Martha, where they wanted to have kids and they couldn't, and so they created this like weird fantasy that ended up fucking up their marriage. And so do you think that that's why they invited Nick and Honey to their
house? I think so.
Because
right, I know it's like this. It's a sick kind of like transference of
Dude, it's really fucked up.
Yeah, it's a weird. It's like for Martha's case, it's a weird transference of like this Oedipal like complex thing, where she kind of like desires younger men, but then she also like desires to be like motherly toward them.
Oh my god.
So. Yeah.
This movie is so much more fucked up than I realized. I mean, it's really messed up.
That's why I said it feels like after I watched The Whale and how how I felt about how all these people are horrible,
right.
and how and how I just said, like, yeah, I don't think any of any of those 4 people deserve happiness.
This movie is so fucked up. Oh my, and that's why like George is playing all these fucking they're playing the games. Get the guests and all those like weird fucked up like games that they're playing. Do you think that like I think that like to a certain degree George is wanting to end all the dramatics in the games. I think that he is trying to win the game as it is. Like, we need to end this. I'm old. I'm tired.
He's tired of the merry-go-round, or the carousel, up, down, and around.
Yeah.
He's tired of it.
He wants to win the game to just fucking end it. It's like let's get back to reality, because this is not the first couple that they've done this to.
No.
But Nick and Honey are the perfect to do this to, because they probably like during the party, they probably how did you meet, okay, and that's probably like Martha invited them over.
Well,
and
it was like they didn't like divulge everything. It's only after George talks to Nick, outside on the swing that.
But I think that there was enough indulged at the party that they don't remember per se. Okay. That it's like, why do you come over? And like, because Martha's the one that invited them, not George.
Not George, yeah.
Martha probably invited them for different reasons, and George, in his fucked up wisdom, is like, I'm gonna learn about these people and see how maybe can I use them to win the game. To kind of like snap Martha out of her her delusion. And it turns out that they are the perfect couple to snap Martha out of her delusion. Oh my god. This is probably the most fucked up film I have seen. There's no gore, there's none of all that stuff.
It's just human beings being awful to each other.
This is a psychological mind game that is being waged throughout the film. And at the end, when you realize that the son that Martha and George have been talking about doesn't even fucking exist. It's like, and Nick is like, oh my god, I understand what the fuck they're talking about. Oh my god. Where he realizes it, and they're like I said, they're terrible people too. Like Nick and Honey. God, this is a messed up film. Yeah. This is really.
Right.
This
is George sussed out Nick like pretty quickly. Because what is it? Nick had I think whether he knew it or not, he had secret ambitions. Secret ambitions, like, because he didn't want to just be another professor, within the I forget what department he was in, math department, not history because that was George. Biology department. He didn't just want to be another professor, but he wanted to maybe even run the biology department and maybe even become the president of the college. And I think George sussed him out on that, and he definitely used that to his advantage from that point on. At least I think. And Honey is. Oh, did you hear what I said before?
Yeah, I was listening to you, but like, you were talking about like the.
Yeah, I think George sussed out Nick Like,
right away.
when they're talking, and it's like he immediately knew it, because I think maybe George was Nick just 20 or 30 20 or 25 years before. He had ambitions too. Like, he didn't just want to be another professor in the history department. He wanted to run the history department, or eventually
Run
be the president of the college.
And Martha, I think, knew that too. That's why she's always like talking about it. It's like, oh, it's like, Daddy doesn't want, didn't think that he, could cut it, or whatever
Right, yeah,
her
the
fucked
little
up
digs.
were.
Yeah.
Oh my god. And it's almost, I know it's like kind of fucked up, but like there are certain times of like the weird digs that George and Martha were doing. It's like, oh my god, this is my fucking marriage. It's like, oh my god, it's so horrible.
Yeah, like it's like this is like 500 Days of Summer. It's like the story is hitting a little close to home.
It's cutting a little too deep. I'm sorry, it really did. I was like, oh. God, it's like it hurt so much. To be honest, I think of all the characters, I felt the most for George.
Oh man.
He's just like, he's old. He's older.
He's defeated.
He's tired. He's defeated. And oh my god, there have been days where I was like, I understand George.
Sorry, man. I don't mean to laugh at your pain.
No, it's okay. You deserve to laugh at my pain. It's okay.
Right? Because as I always remind you, you chose her, dude.
That's okay. That's my fault. Now I'm gonna complain, but that doesn't.
You're gonna complain, but you have to realize you chose her.
I have zero sympathy. It's okay.
Right.
But yeah, no, I sympathize with George sometimes. I'm like, fuck, this is, I kind of understand like where he's at, because he doesn't want his wife to. He hates that his wife cheats on him, which is it's happened so many times, and I think it's not necessarily because she necessarily thinks of George as a loser, but the reason she thinks of him as a loser is not because of his ambition, but because probably he was not able to give her children, which is what she wanted. And so they ended up creating this like weird, fucked up fantasy scenario, and they had this kid in their imagination, or at least in Martha's imagination, because her mind is broken. And he did that to indulge her, and to end the game, he killed their imaginary child off, the kid that didn't exist. And it's like, that is one of the it's so difficult to deal with. And it's like, I feel, like I said, I feel bad for Nick and Haley that they got dragged into this, despite them not being good characters. But it's still like, this is more. If I was in that situation, I'd be like, we're getting the fuck out of here. Like, let's go. Like, I don't care how like inviting or nice they seem,
or how rude it would seem to just leave.
I'm like, I would run out of that fucking house, dude. Fuck that. I'd be like, hey, you know what? We might have problems, but we don't have their problems.
Right, yeah.
Oh my god. That is one of the most uncomfortable. Like, right away, it is one of the most uncomfortable films I've ever watched. Right from the get-go. Because they are kind of like on each other, and yet at the same time,
they're like they're sniping at each other. they're sniping on each other like a little like how a cat would like take snipes at like a mouse or something. That's what it was.
Yeah. Oh my god, it's just so like the whole film is so uncomfortable, and yeah. At the same time, yeah, like you said, you hate the characters, like because they're not good people.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you think? Do you feel that the ending was satisfying, or like do you feel like that maybe there was some sort of progress made?
Well, I think the ending of this movie, George kind of reclaimed some of his power back.
Yeah,
But it's just
I
like well, finally, and it's like too little, too late. You're at you're on the wrong you're on the wrong side of the tenure of your marriage. So it's not like you could leave each other now.
here's the thing. So maybe I'm a little bit more hopeful with how the movie ends because the whole movie is, like I said, it's awful. It's uncomfortable. It sucks. The whole everything about it is just like so awful.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like at the end, yeah, they're probably in their 50s, both of them. I see. Yeah, I assume they're right around the same age. Well, let's just say 50. Despite Liz Taylor looking like she's still fucking gorgeous. Despite the quote unquote frumpiness that they put on her.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they're in their 50s. I think that they've been struggling for probably about like 20. This is like a 20-year struggle that they've been going through.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that they did love each other right from the very beginning. They had a very passionate love for probably like the first 10 years of their marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And when they couldn't have kids, that's where the sniping and like all the games started being played. And so, or maybe like that she got pregnant or several, maybe like once or twice, but had miscarriages.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
Or she did get pregnant and then like some sort of complication and like she lost the child and maybe they had to rip out the plumbing as it were.
yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of scenarios that we don't quite know.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that like you said, that there was a very passionate marriage that was destroyed because of infertility, whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where like all these dumb games began, and like the sniping and like the really nasty stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a feeling that's also where the affairs began with Martha, because it's alluded to that her and Nick they have sex that
Mm-hmm.
night, but we don't know. But I assume that this is not the first time that that's happened. If it is like a sexual encounter,
Mm-hmm.
and so I think that for 20 years, George has been trying to find a way to reclaim his power and to wake Martha up from like whatever fantasy that she's been living in.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it just so happened that like I'm sure that they've had multiple couples at their house
Mm-hmm.
who have seen this same fucking story play out, and either they've run away like smart people, or like they're just like, yeah, okay, this was a very interesting evening. We're gonna go home now, and they never come back. Duh.
Mm-hmm.
But like this is like one couple that like where maybe like George like I see the like what Martha and I used to be in this couple, and I'm going to potentially exploit this for my for my good.
Right, for his benefit, for his career, for whatever.
Yeah, and they just happen to be the perfect couple to like play off of to like for George to win the game as it were.
Right.
So, like I said, I have some hope that like at the end of the movie, where Martha just completely breaks down that like their son is dead, the son that never existed. It's like, let's end this fucking fantasy and let's just get back to like being husband and wife together, despite us not having a son. And I do think that is like how the movie, like if we were gonna look at this movie like 1 year later, I think that they go back to like a happy marriage.
Okay.
Or at least on the way to being in a happy marriage. Because I think we're seeing at the end of the craziness.
Okay. Oh no, I would think that might be just a little too optimistic for especially like what we got from like the movie. But I guess there's nothing wrong with hoping. But
I mean,
think,
to me, it would just be way too depressing. It would be way too depressing to think otherwise.
I just think I think that once like now that she's like snapped out of her delusion or whatever, I think that they're gonna take a really long hard look at their marriage, and I think they're gonna stay together merely merely realizing that they're like two broken people, and like there's no one else that they could attract, or there's no one who could take on like their brokenness. So I mean, in a slightly hopeful way, they decided to be broken together.
Yeah, I can see that too. I mean, like I said, I have hope, but I also can see like that would be the reality of the situation.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if you looked into it, but why is it the title "Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf"?
Oh, I did look into that. So apparently, shit. I should have brought that up. The it's based off of like it's kind of like it was based off of like what was it, like Edward Albee was the creator of the like play, and like was part of the adaptation of like for the film. Let me pull that up real quick. I did find out like what it was about, but like it was based off of. Let's go with the film. I forget like what it was. It had something to do with like it was just based off of like a story that like the playwriter like discovered. It's like, oh, that sounds like something. Yeah, there was some reason, but like it's not like it wasn't anything like significant to the story or whatever. It just happened to be like I know they kind of like played it off in the movie where it was like, oh, there was some like it was some sort of like anecdote or punchline to a joke that like we don't really hear in the film.
Right.
And it's like, um, I'll have to re-look that up again because I'm not seeing like I
So
forgot like where
is this supposed to be like the line in Avengers, like the Budapest line?
I mean, it's probably something like that. Like I looked it up like when I first watched the film back like a year ago,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like really like now I don't remember where I read it because it's like, but the way from what I remember, I was like when I read it, I was like, that's how they came up with the name of the movie, like or the play in the movie. It's like that's kind of it felt kind of dumb.
Mm. Right. I mean, if anything, I would have thought um, that it had something to do with the you know the poet author herself, like Virginia Woolf. And how she was known to be like she had depression and things like that, and you know a gen like
And maybe it was that, and but as far as like or it has something to do with like that person, and I don't remember like what it was. Uh,
yeah. I mean that's just me like guessing.
yeah, but it's not like something like super significant or anything like that from what I remember. And like I said, I'll look it up. I'll find out. Maybe I'll talk about it like next week when we first start. Just because I think it's like important, but it's like not important to
Okay.
remember at the moment what the significance was. Um, but overall, did you end up like kind of being entertained by the film? Like, did it like captivate you?
I thought the performances were good. I hated the characters, but
Yeah, like I said,
again, similarly to how I felt about the whale, great performances. I hate everybody.
yeah. But like I said, that doesn't mean that it's a bad movie.
No, no, no.
That's just how the characters were written. Like
Yeah,
they
you're
wanted
not
you to be
supposed to like any one of the main characters.
right. Exactly. You're right. You're not supposed to like anybody. Is there anything else from like Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf that you wanted to talk about that like we didn't touch on, or like was there like
Do you
specific
think
moments you
okay
want to touch on?
the story that of George's childhood that he recounts to Nick, and then finding out that
Oh yeah,
do
yeah.
you
Let's
do you
talk about that.
think that George was that kid that killed his parents?
That's what we're told. That's what we're led to believe.
Right.
Because
Okay, but yeah,
Mark,
but do you think that it was George, like that he was talking about, like the story that he
yep,
wrote?
I think he was talking about himself.
Okay.
I think he was the one that like ended up like what was it, killing his mom?
Yeah, I thought it was both of his parents.
Yeah. Um, and I think that because him and Martha were so close and intimate, and like they had a very close marriage, so there was no secrets between them. But like when the marriage started to break down, she was
Right.
like,
She
"Oh,
wielded like a cudgel.
oh my god, that is so horrible."
Right. And maybe it was an accident, but the way that Martha, wields it, she makes it sound like he did it, like he purposely killed his parents, and
Oh my
he just got off.
And George was trying to write a book about his experience,
Right.
but then I don't think, to be honest, I don't think it was Martha's dad. I think it was Martha that was
Oh, that was ridiculing
like,
him
yeah, about like, don't write
about the
that
book.
book.
Yeah, about the story.
Oh my god, what a fucked up marriage that is. Oh my god, it is so damaged.
Hmm.
Oh my god, this movie was so like I said, I really like this film. This is not a film that I come back to regularly because it is so messed up.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I said, it's not a good. It's not like a comfort film where I'm like, oh, I'm watching Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. I feel so happy and like and like good about my life. Well, I do feel good about my life. It's like, you know what? Like, no matter like how bad like my marriage gets, like it's not this.
Right.
And God forbid, like I will not let it get to this.
Well, it's funny.
Despite like
What was it?
despite I was saying, despite like some of the sleeping that goes on between the two of us, it is not that bad. Oh my God.
All right. Blink twice if you're not safe.
Yes. I guess.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. If you don't have anything else, let's give our ratings
Yeah,
and then we'll wrap it up.
let's give her ratings and we'll call it a night.
All right. I'll start. Despite me hating the characters, and just my general revulsion to any of the main characters, the performances were great. Uh, you know, uh, Liz Taylor killed it as Martha. Richard Burton totally sold me as the completely you know, bereft of hope, uh, small town college professor.
Oh, come off it, Martha.
Yeah, and I think George Siegel and Sandy Dennis.
Yeah, Sandy Dennis.
They did great too. I'm gonna give this. A 4.
Okay.
Yeah. Again, it's not one of those movies where it's like, oh man, you got to watch this movie. It's great. I mean, yes, it is a great movie, but just not. This is
I think everyone should watch it at least once.
Yeah. Yeah. If nothing else, but for the performances, for Liz Taylor's and Richard Burton's performance.
Oh, I mean, this is a master class in acting. Mm-hmm. But I also think it gives us a little bit of a